is present.
Thank you. Councilman Stevens, can you lead us in prayer?
God our Father, we thank you for your grace and mercy towards us. We thank you for your many blessings and all the great things that you continue to do for this beautiful city that we call Miami Gardens. Father, it is our prayers that you bless us, you give us your knowledge, your wisdom, and your understanding. And God, help us to make the right decisions as it relates to this beautiful city. Bless the residents, its leadership, and everyone that calls this place home. All these things we ask in your Son's name, I pray. Amen.
Amen. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This special meeting is to discuss and address the speeding within the city of Miami Gardens. So I'm gonna turn this part over right now to our city manager, Cameron Benson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Good afternoon, council members. As you are aware, a couple meetings ago, council, after hearing about a certain accident, wanted to have a discussion regarding the speeding issues throughout the city of Miami Gardens, where we were in as far as the use of our police and also the use of potentially traffic calming devices throughout the city of Miami Gardens. I've asked Tom Ruiz, the Director of Public Works, to prepare a presentation to walk you through some of the things that we have been working on, some of the things we'll be working on in the future, as well as the chief. She will be here to talk about it from a stat standpoint and some of the enforcement things that we're doing from a policing standpoint regarding the traffic issues throughout the city of Miami Gardens. Having said that, Mr. Vice Mayor, if you don't mind, I'd like to call on Mr. Ruiz first to do the presentation, and then he'll be followed by the police chief.
Thank you.
Good evening, Vice Mayor.
Good evening.
Good evening, Council. Tonight, I would like to share with you, because I know it's been a real tough few years as people continue speeding. You don't mind if I take my mask out? It kind of itches my nose. So it's been a bad situation for residents, and it's also been a bad situation for me personally, because listening to residents and deaths and people running into the houses, people running stop signs, and there's been a lot of things going on, and it's been escalating, and it still continues to escalate. So let me get back here. So tonight in your council meeting, you're going to be passing the interlocal for us to take the traffic calming devices and engineering from the county. So with that said, I want to get it more into what we're going to be doing besides that, because we've been working behind the scenes trying to get a lot of this things under control in a way of looking into the future. First of all, like I said, the traffic calming interlocal are going to be before you tonight, and so hopefully it'll pass, and then we can take it over after that. The next thing that we're looking at is doing a citywide traffic study, which will be conducted in the next few months to give us a picture of not just a few roads, but what's happening in the whole city, why people are cutting through, why there's more traffic on others than what others are, and also looking at the list of roads and requests that I have gotten to date. And with this study, they're also going to give us a recommendation to lower the speed on the city roads. So with that, I want to also take over the internal speed signs, and that's going to be an interlocal in the future once this study gets done, which they're going to recommend that 25-mile-per-hour speed from 30. That'll also give enforcement also, where it also always hit is the back pocket. And now they're going to, if they still go in that speed, now 5 more miles per hour, they're going to be they're going to be charged more in their citation for having a higher speed. At least that's what I understand. So with the interlocal tonight, the process right now is a guidelines for processing the traffic calming devices that people request or the residents request. With this, we have a request for traffic calming, which is an application. Right now, what I have, the past request, the majority of them already been approved to do a certain type of device, whether it's a hump, whether it's an intersection, race intersection, or even a roundabout. So I have those in a list already, just about ready to go. We just need to get into the actual community because we want to let them know what we're doing. So after the application, it gets a preliminary evaluation is conducted prior to moving forward to a traffic study of the areas requested. There are guidelines that we have to follow to see. Let's say they want to do this corridor, five streets. We're going to look at those because the problem is if they're short streets, it allows us that we can't put any speed humps. Other than that, we could probably do a roundabout instead. So every request has a different guideline on what we follow, which is also data, speeding, how many vehicles go through the area. So it's a lot, not just getting a phone call and say, hey, can you come and put a speed hump in front of my house? It doesn't work that way because if not, we're going to have speed humps all over the city, and we have to have a set of guidelines. And of course, we're also following the county's guidelines because that's what the interlocal calls for, and that's what we have to do. We still have to follow those guidelines. So if it passes the preliminary, a traffic study will be conducted and the device will be recommended. With a citywide study, we'll probably have a better idea instead of doing traffic study for every street that's requested. Then after that, after we go through it, we're going to run a petition in the area that given to the person that requested the traffic calming, so they can get the area residents to approve what we're going to be doing in that area. Some people don't like it and some people don't, and the reason for that is if you put a speed hump in front of somebody's house and they don't like it, then if we put it down and they don't like it, it's not coming the next day and pulling it out because it's expensive, first of all, to put it down, and then we have to grind the asphalt, take it back up. So we're gonna have the community approve what we're gonna be doing, so that way we don't have that problem in a few days picking it up. After the petition is signed, a plan will be completed as to the location of the traffic calming devices, along with striping and signage that's gonna be on there. We will go back to the community to let each property owner know where each individual traffic calming device will be placed. That way they understand, again, back to, I don't want it in front of my house and those sort of things. So, but when they do the actual design, they design it according to the manuals of FDOT, because you can't have speed humps too close to each other or too far apart, so they will be putting them in a level of what the manuals calls for. If everyone approves, then the device will be constructed. So lastly, again, since I have many requests at the moment, which some have already been approved by the county, we also have a scoring board on there. What I'm going to be doing with this is between first come, first served that have already turned it in, and what has been approved by the county, and of course, what we have for the budget, and we're gonna move forward with those as quickly as possible. So with that, I'd like to leave you with, if you have any questions.
Mr. Vice Mayor?
Go ahead.
I don't mind, if you don't mind, I don't want to interrupt any council members asking a question, but can I just get some clarification from Mr.
Yes,
Ruiz?
you guys,
If you
yes.
don't mind. Tom, excuse me? Okay. Tom, can you go back over the citywide traffic plan? And in that, clarify how the priorities will be designated through the citywide traffic plan. Will the plan itself recommend the priorities, or will council members in the community and through meetings or whatever, will they have input into what those priorities are? I just need clarification on the traffic planning development process.
Yeah, what they're gonna.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Yeah, what they're gonna do, the whole study is, they're gonna go down every street and they're gonna use, the speeding guns and also seeing the traffic, accidents in those areas. They're gonna recommend things in the plan, whether it's roundabout, whether it's speed humps, whether it's maybe choking. Have you seen choking the road, where people will have to slow down when you get to that point? So they're going to be looking at all those different devices. They're probably going to prioritize like a set of projects in it. That way we can follow those in our budget also. But again, we have a whole bunch right now that I'm going to turn over to them so they can see also what people are asking, what everybody is asking for, and also what the problems are with the community, and then they'll go from there doing pretty much the whole study of everything. So was that a little bit?
Mr. Vice Mayor.
Go ahead, Mr. Benz.
On the ones that you already have in place, is it possible for you to let the council members know where those current projects are designated?
Absolutely. I can do that.
Okay.
Mr. Vice Mayor,
Go ahead, Mr. Hanson.
I have a question. Thank you, Tom, for your presentation. I really appreciate that. I just want a few things I want to clarify a few things.
Sure.
The first thing is the citywide traffic study that's going to be conducted. This is according to, this isn't, because we're taking over within the new interlocal agreement. So we're basically saying we'll do a traffic study to see what areas need speed devices, correct?
No, the interlocal doesn't tell me to do a traffic study. The traffic study is usually done by requests.
Sure.
But since we're a 20 square mile city, there's so much going on with speeding and all that sort of community, to also help the police department too. It was recommended by the county recommended to do a traffic study. And the reason also I wanted to add a traffic study is, again, because this traffic study will also let us know to drop the speed limit to 25 inside the city-owned streets. That way, it'll also, again, it probably won't slow down some drivers because that's just the way they are, but at least they're able to hit them in the pocket, when they speed to that.
Right.
Sometimes what it'll do is, okay, I can go 25, now I can go 35. Well, that's a normal inside the streets, the internal streets speed. But if you keep it at 30, now they'll go to 45. Mm-hmm. You understand? Their mentality is, I can go maybe 10 more, faster in the community than if it was, they actually will speed 10 miles more than what the speed limit is.
Right. And my follow-up question, do we know how soon we would be conducting this traffic study?
And what I did is Live Miami Gardens, Tamara works with the CDC. Mm-hmm. So she already got approved for the CDC to spend half of the money, and the CITT will spend the other half to do the study. So it's going to be a half and half, and we should be putting a purchase order next week or so to get the studies started.
Okay, so we're looking to maybe about the next 2 to 3 months?
It's going to be probably 5 to 6 months because it is a big city and they have to do a lot. But they'll start
5 to 6 months to complete the study. But to get it started, how long?
Oh no, to get it started right away.
Okay.
They just start sending guys to do the
sure.
and start looking of all the accidents in the area and start pulling it out.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Vice Mayor, I have
Yes.
a question. Tom, thank you so much for your presentation. And I'm so happy that we are addressing this challenge in our city, because as we all know, this has just been a headache for everyone, council members, residents, everyone. So from your perspective, and Chief, you may want to chime in on this as well, Mr. Manager, if that's okay with you. How effective are speed bumps in conjunction to or in lieu of the roundabouts?
Good evening, Chief Del Noel Pratt. Speed bumps help us, especially with the cars that like to do drag racing, because they're lower.
Okay,
The lower the car, if they speed over those speed bumps, it damages their vehicle. They have to pay more money to fix that vehicle in order to participate in that drag racing and things of that nature. So it helps us, it does help us tremendously.
and then the roundabouts, I mean, they're cute and they're pretty. How
The-
effective are they within the neighborhoods? And how do
It's-
we decipher which one we go with? I assume that within the traffic study, it'll kind of give us a segue or some kind of a determination on which one would work best for that particular area?
Yes,
that's
what the study's for, too.
Okay,
Include that.
It helps for the majority of the individuals. There's just some individuals that they speed no matter what. If there is a roundabout, they're still going to speed. But then again, they have damage to their vehicle usually when they go around it too fast. So, I mean, it's going to hurt them in certain ways as far as damage to their vehicles, but it's going to make them more conscious as to slowing down a little bit more.
okay. So then the question that I'm going to ask you to follow up is, and this may be something that our city attorney can chime in on. So are there going to be, Tom, are there going to be like signage so that the city isn't like held liable if someone's axle breaks or something to that effect? Are we gonna have signage prior to every speed bump? Is that something that is done, or what is it gonna look like?
Yes, the speed bumps or any traffic device has to have signage prior to
Okay.
let them know something's coming.
Okay.
And we also do striping also along with that. They have the like chevrons as you approach it so they can see it from far away also. So it's not just put it down and not know about it, because asphalt to asphalt, if you don't have anything to show it, then you can't until you hit it.
Very well, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I apologize if I ask a question that may already have been stated. But when we take a look at what triggers a traffic study or what triggers a traffic calming device, is there like, does there have to be so many accidents? Is it through request? Is it because of the donuts? What triggers the initial idea or the initial need for a study to be done in a certain area?
Well, we start with requests, and so then we do a whole study, to see how many cars go through there, because there is guidelines where it says 85 percentile of vehicles, if they go over this certain speed, then it's number one that we're gonna do something with some type of calming device, and then
Okay.
there's also.
So it doesn't need to, it could just be one person making a request for a study of traffic? Or does it have to be a volume of people? I'm just trying to figure out at what point does the study begin? What triggers that? Just one request?
Well, one request, and then we see that's the preliminary evaluation once we get a request. We just don't get a request and go out and do it.
Okay.
Because traffic study do cost money.
Right.
So we're not gonna waste our money if the preliminary doesn't go through, and we'll also talk to the community too, to see what they think about it. Again, and it also deals with how fast you're going, how many cars are going through the area, how many accidents have been through the area, why, and the big thing is, why are people speeding through this area? Most of the time is they're cutting through so they're not on 183rd or 2nd Avenue or 27, they'll just cut through because they want to get from point A to point B just as fast if they were on the main roads. And that's pretty much what it is. And one of the big thing too is the speeding also triggers those people to run the stop sign. So their mentality has been stop signs are yield signs. So once it gets up here and somebody's on the phone, guess what happens when you approach a stop sign? Your mind already goes right through it. A car doesn't have a stop sign, hits it, and the car ends up in somebody's house.
Okay, now, are there any tiers to the, like, we have some areas that probably have had a long history of having issues with speeding in their area. Have they been prioritized in terms of how long they've been waiting for it, the largest hazard, or?
Yeah, I have the list as a spreadsheet. There's about 19 of them that I have. And so some do not have approvals from the county from way back. Now those I have to go out and do a traffic study with those.
And so they have been tiered. So would we be able to say, how many will we do a year? And how do we look at which ones are priorities to be done? Is that rooted in time, or is that rooted in crisis?
We have a score sheet that comes along with the guidelines, and then we score them as far as, again, the percentiles on how many cars and all that stuff to see which one has the worst record to be able to put them up to the top level. I have the list, and I'll be going through that with the engineer, so we can go ahead and start prioritizing and set them in that line of the process of what I just let you know a little while ago.
My final question. So say, for example, I know that there are some communities that have been waiting for a while for some.
Yes.
Would they be notified where they are on the list? Should it, once it's completed? So say they would say you guys are the number 5, or you guys are number 1, or?
I can do that.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
because I have the names of the residents that have requested it.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Manager?
I'd like the chief to just give some background on some things as well. Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Good evening again. Just alone this year, we've had 21 serious crashes. And that means that a lot of my investigators that are in traffic homicide investigation have to come out and do their investigation into the matter. Since last year, we started doing what's called aggressive driving details. With those details that we did from November of last year till this month alone, we issued out 1,022 citations. That has to do with speeding, moving and non-moving citations, criminal citations, and we also made 69 arrests alone. And we towed 12 vehicles. So that's just from November to this March. One thing that we notice is there's a lot of things that's advertised on social media. When there's going to be drag racing in certain parts of Dade County, basically, we see it on different outlets, whether it be Instagram, whether it be Facebook, whether it be, you name it. So what we do is we monitor those different sites through our real-time crime center. Our analysts inside of there look and see exactly what people are talking about. For instance, if you have a group of individuals talking about they want to meet up at, let's say, 199th Street and 27th Avenue at the Sonic at 9 p.m., what we do is we usually go ahead and send out units beforehand. That way, when they get there and they see the lights, they go ahead and say, okay, we're not going to go ahead and have a racing detail over there in that area. In addition to that, we talk to other agencies. A lot of times we get phone calls from the city of Miami-Dade Police Department, and they say, listen, this is happening in your city. And therefore, we go ahead and we set up things in advance to stop them from doing certain drag racings and things on our vehicle, in our city. Another thing that we notice is that we have a lot of open areas. For instance, 47th Avenue, it's much larger now. It's much wider. So now you have a lot of people that say, okay, it's wider. And not only that, it's longer. So therefore, I have the capability of speeding. So we've been sending our traffic enforcement units out there to do radar traffic enforcement, whether it be doing laser traffic enforcement in order to stop them. This has been happening a lot in school zones. So we send them there during those times in order to try to prevent people from speeding during those times. We have a listing just like Tom, and we always communicate with him on exactly the different areas of concerns that we see, whether it be 207 and 27, whether it be 183rd Street, 27th Avenue. We have that conversation with him all the time. And we discuss whether maybe a device should be there, maybe a device shouldn't be there, in order to try to curtail a lot of the speeders that is occurring in our city. I've been hearing and I've been having discussions with Miami-Dade Police Department. They want to put together like a task force. We look forward to working with them in partnership. And, because this is happening across Miami-Dade County, it's not just in our city. But however we work together, we can probably push them out of our city and, slow a lot of people down. I think what Director Ruiz is going to be doing with the traffic study and the different devices is going to help us, because it also gives us another tool with lowering the miles per hour in order to hurt their pockets. A lot of them, they don't want to pay that money. So they'll look and go elsewhere rather than speeding in Miami Gardens. In addition to that, we work almost every couple of months with FDOT, with Carlos Sarmiento, and we do traffic details with him and his crew. Those type of details are with different units from different agencies. It could be traffic enforcement officers from Hialeah, Medley, Miami-Dade Police Department, and ourselves. And we do that in addition to the aggressive driving details that we do in-house. Any questions?
Any questions?
Yes.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Thank you. Chief, thank you for your presentation. First, let me highlight the fact that I really enjoy, I'm really happy to see the two departments working together, our Public Works Department and Police Department working together to address this issue, as it is definitely something that we need to come back here in our city. My only thing is, I have a question as it relates to monitoring these activities or the promotions or whatever is out there in the social media world prior to it actually happening.
Yes.
Do we have adequate enough staff that is monitoring these things, or is there something that we can do on our end to help combat that more aggressively?
Yes, I believe we have adequate staffing because, like I said before, it's not only us in-house that are looking at the social media platforms. It's like, for instance, I could be, let's say, sitting at home 6 p.m. I'll get a text from somebody in City Miami, because we have that partnership, we have that relationship. And they'll say, okay, they'll send me a screenshot of something and say, okay, there's something happening in your city. And it gives us a fair warning. And therefore, I go ahead and I reach out to the Real-Time Crime Center. Did you see this? Did you notice this? And 9 times out of 10, they've already been on it. They've already sent the information out to our staff, and our staff is prepared. Just the other day, I believe it was right before Jazz in the Gardens, there was something that came out via Instagram, and that's where it usually happens, Instagram. And there was information that was sent out saying that they were going to meet up at the Sonic. And before you know it, there was 3 to 4 units right there at the Sonic prepared, because they knew what time they were going to show up, and they prevented them from gathering and getting together, because a lot of times they like to gather by the Walmart or across the street to try to get gas. We prevented them from getting gas. That's the number one thing. We go to the gas station so they can't get gas, and then they have to seek other avenues, and it prevents them from speeding in our city.
Thank you. I really, I must say, the partnership that we have with other agencies, or with them reaching out to you, kudos to that. That speaks of your leadership, and I really appreciate that. And the other thing that I want to say is thank you to the both of you for working to combat this issue, because it is definitely something that that's keeping all of us up.
Literally.
That's keeping all of us up at night. So I really appreciate
And
that.
one thing I want to say, it's not just us working with within Dade County, because it stretches all the way to Broward. So a lot of times I reach out to the chiefs up in Broward, because they're suffering from the same thing. And we try to put our heads together to try to stop them from doing this, because we're seeing more and more people losing their lives as a result of this aggressive driving. So it is a bigger problem.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions? Well, Mr. Manager, Chief, Tom, thank you, Mr. Clerk, for putting this presentation together. There's a lot that, the residents get to see what goes on behind the scenes as we work to get traffic calming devices. You know, you see that we just can't go out there and plop a speed bump without checking with that person whose house that's going to be in front of, because that's a lot of noise for that house where that actual speed bump is going. I saw the other day on Channel 7, they talked about Indian Creek, how they were complaining about the speeding. And now the same people that were complaining about the speeding is complaining about the noise from the speed bumps. So thank you again for putting this together. And if you guys don't have anything, we're going to adjourn till council meeting. That's it. Show this meeting adjourned.
That's it.